Hi everyone, Jai Hind and welcome to the platform of StudyIQ IAS in English, and in this session we'll be talking about Project Pragya. Yes, it is pronounced as Pragya. This is where the eyes will be there in the sky for the Ministry of Home Affairs. Now, when it comes to Project Pragya, it is a transitioning for India that will be transitioned to the real-time geospatial intelligence or GeoInt. That is very important in today's circumstances when it comes to the cross-border terrorism or even for the counter-insurgency operations as well. So therefore, this is a very important step, and the handover ceremony had been taken, or the event had been organized where the DRDO had officially handed over the Pragya satellite imaging system to the Ministry of Home Affairs. And ultimately, this will be operational deployment of Project Pragya. Now, this is a complete strategic shift, as I have told you, because we are moving away from dependence on the commercial alternatives or the foreign satellite data for the sensitive internal security monitoring as well. And this will also integrate, this is very major step and a boost for India, that there will be an integration of artificial intelligence with the satellite imagery that will enable the automated detection in the threat for the near real-time scenarios in India. Now, when it comes to Pragya, so what is Pragya? This is basically Pragya. The Pragya is a Sanskrit word and it means wisdom or consciousness. That is, it implies intelligence or the wisdom surveillance. That is very, very important, and that is why the name had been taken, that the intelligent surveillance or Pragya, they are coterminous. Now, there is an integrated satellite image processing that had been included in it, and also the analysis system. And the purpose is that it is built for the Indian security forces, not for the defense forces, but for the internal security forces, that is, those forces which are under Ministry of Home Affairs. All right. There is high resolution optical imaging that is very, very important for identifying the threats. And also there is SAR, that is the synthetic aperture radar, that is also being used for the data processing. Now, the benefit of using SAR data processing is, or the synthetic aperture radar is, that it will be all weather and day and night surveillance that will be launched with the help of Project Pragya. And the focus will be on non-military internal security threats. That is, for the paramilitary forces, for the intelligence bureau and for the state police, this could be utilized. Now, when it comes to Project Pragya, what was the reason or what was the major cause that led to the evolution of Indian space-based intelligence? Now, when it comes to Kargil, so there was Kargil war in 1999, and that was a time period where we had found that there are gaps in the indigenous imagery or indigenous intelligence when it comes to GeoInt or the geospatial intelligence. Afterwards, RESAT series were the satellites that were launched. These are the all-weather radar surveillance satellites that were launched by ISRO, and there was observation data where civilian ISRO feeds were integrated. And now we have Pragya and also NatGrid fusion that have led to, or that will lead to, the actionable intelligence that will be there. So it was the 1999 Kargil conflict that had exposed that India is dependent upon the foreign satellite data, imagery, and there is a complete 2 decades of the investment that we have done in the project. That is, that we have focused from the RESAT satellites to the DRDO's Pragya, and that is what is closing the critical capability gap when it comes to the intelligence module in India. Now, these are the certain technological or technical and operational highlights of Project Pragya. That is, it will be real-time latency reduction, where we will minimize the gap between the image capture and the real-time or the field-level action, and it will enable the commanders to act on the fresh, fresh intelligence that will be provided by Pragya. At the same time, when it comes to this model or the project, so there will be multi-platform integration where it will take images from the Indian remote sensing satellites or IRS satellites, from the UAVs and other sensor platforms into a complete unified field. There will be automated change detection as well, where there will be AI algorithms that will be used. So from these AI algorithms, they will automatically flag any kind of new constructions, vehicle movements or unusual activity along the sensitive borders, and also there will be secured data pipeline as well, where the transmission will be end-to-end encrypted, and it will ensure that the intelligence, it cannot be intercepted or compromised by the hostile actors which are there. So this is the complete project that is there. There will be input through the geospatial data where high resolution imagery will be used. Then there will be processing by the AI analytics where anomaly will be detected and the pattern will be recognized. And finally, there will be the output where real-time border management, counterinsurgency, or for the disaster management, this output could be utilized. So we have moved from physical and manual intelligence, or we can say human intelligence or humans. So there was over-reliance on the physical fencing and also manual patrolling by BSF and ITBP. There was vulnerable in the porous riverine and as well as in dense canopy terrains, and we have lost lots of security personnel because of this various disasters or accidents that had happened because of the terrain specific accidents. Then we have moved to the sensor-based after the Pathankot incident. We have transitioned to the smart fencing through CIBMS and also creation of NatGrid and MAC as well. And now this is the phase 3 of the intelligence gathering that we are witnessing, where this is cognitive and predictive. There is introduction of Pragya that will use the AI in intelligence gathering. Now, this will have a huge dimensional impact when it comes to the internal security as well as for the disaster preparedness. Because this Pragya software or the project, it could be used for border management, where we can do 24/7 monitoring of the line of actual control and the LOC as well. At the same time, it will detect the tunnels, bunkers, and even true buildups in the near inaccessible terrain, where it is quite impossible to have a complete lookout. It will also have impact for the left-wing extremism or counterinsurgency as well, because when it comes to synthetic aperture radar, so that capabilities, they penetrate dense into the forest canopies to map the Maoist hideouts and movement corridors as well when it comes to the left-wing extremism or the red corridor. Then it will also boost the coastal securities as well. After 2611, Pragya monitors unidentified vessels in the EEZ or exclusive economic zone, and again that will boost the coastal security and the coastal architecture as well, and this will be used for the disaster response equally. Alright, when it comes to the real-time damage assessment during floods or even earthquakes, there will be, that will be done by Project Pragya, and this will enable the NDRF deployment and resource allocation precisely and usefully. But at the same time, it has certain issues and challenges as well. When it comes to Project Pragya, there are the issues of, or there will be challenges of data overload, because it will require massive server infrastructure. We are moving for the AI, there is AI integration. So there is massive server integration or infrastructure that is required. There are skill analysts also that are required to process these high resolution satellite images or feeds continuously. There will be challenges when it comes to the interagency rivalry as well. Because when it comes to the data sharing, so there will be rivalry between Ministry of Home Affairs through Project Pragya, and even when it comes to Ministry of Defence, so they says they have Defence Space Agency, so there will be a kind of clash that we can see, and inter-agency rivalry can be seen. It remains an institutional challenge for now, at least for now. Alright, there are weather constraints as well, because when it comes to the Himalayan conditions, so there is, or the conditions that are there, weather conditions, they limit the optical sensor effectiveness, despite that we have the synthetic aperture radar. So again, there are weather constraints and also the privacy concerns as well, because this is ethical. We know about Puttaswamy judgment, which talks about the right to privacy, which the Supreme Court, it says that it is a fundamental right. At the same time, surveillance without anybody's knowledge. Alright, surveillance about the movement, and that is a kind of, just moving into the dimension where the right to privacy could be hindered upon. So there is ethical tension between mass surveillance capability and individual privacy rights, and that demands a proper legal framework right now in India as well. Now, why did we need Pragya? What are the root causes? The first one was the institutional lag, because the paramilitary forces, they lacked the training to interpret raw satellite telemetry. All right, that is widening the gap between the data and the decision making, and because of this we have lost lots of security personnel as well. So there was an institutional lag that had to be, it had to be plugged upon or plugged down. Then there was policy failure. There is the absence of a unified national geospatial policy, delayed the integration of the private sector and the DRDO capabilities for years as well, and there was structural gap as well. There were reliance on the ISRO, which is a civilian agency for the security-grade intelligence, and that had created a critical operational bottleneck at the strategic levels. And that is the need, or that is why we required Project Pragya. Now, these are the certain key organizations which are important for Project Pragya. We have CAIR, that is a DRDO lab that has led to the development of Pragya. CAIR stands for Center for AI and Robotics, and along with this, maybe Advanced Data Processing Research Institute was also involved for development of Pragya. But the news, it says that it was developed by CAIR, or that is CAIR, or Center for AI and Robotics. At the same time, National Technical Research Organization, that is NTRO, and also New Space Life India Limited, that is NSIL, they are the key ecosystem partners when it comes to Project Pragya. These are key terms that you should know. SAR is the synthetic aperture radar that leads to all-weather imagery satellites. All right, these are used in the satellites that are all-weather satellites. Then there is GeoInt. This is geospatial intelligence, which is location-based analysis of the intelligence data. Then there is latency. Latency is the time lag. The time lag that is between the data capture or the picture capture and then its transmission or the use. That is where we use the term latency. Multispectral means imaging that is across multiple light wavelengths, and dual use means the technology that serves both civilian as well as military users. So again, this is important. These things are important for your upcoming prelims for the 2026. So over here, this is the last thing that I will just say, and I will finish off with the session. When it comes to Project Pragya, it is not merely a software platform. It is basically a force multiplier that compresses the OODA loop. Now, what is this OODA loop? Basically, observe, orient, decide, and act. So this is OODA loop. Wherever there are security personnel, they use this. All right, they observe. Then what they do is they orient themselves. They decide whether to take the action or not, and then they act on it. So this is the OODA loop. So this will decompress or compress this OODA loop, giving India's security forces a decisive edge while acting on the ground surface. At the same time, when it comes to the Project Pragya, it will lead to smart border techniques or smart border management as well, because the indigenous GeoInt that will enable the continuous automated AI-driven surveillance of every sensitive border networks or the borders that we have. Also, it will lead to the safe hinterland for a Viksit Bharat that we want by 2027. So ultimately, the security, it must be proactive when we are talking about Viksit Bharat or developed India. So again, this is very important for the internal security. This is quite important step, or the Project Pragya is quite important for India. Now, this is my scanner, so you can join me on my Telegram channel through this scanner. You just need to scan this, or you can search for me as well at the rate @Bhava_StudyIQ. All right. Today, because it is the Civil Services Day on 21st of April, so we have launched this offer for you who all are preparing for the civil services. So now you can get all the UPSC courses at just 50% off. All right, there is complete 50% off on all the subjects. What you need to do is you need to use the code that is BRS Live, and you will get this 50% off. Also, through this, after joining, you will also get free mentorship through AIR 88. So these are the courses, the foundation batches for 2027 and 2028. The resolution batch P2I, you can enroll into this at just 50% of the cost, and these batches are available in English, in Hindi, as well as in bilingual format. Remember to use BRS Live, that is the code, to get the maximum discount. So that would be all. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care and Jai Hind. Do not forget to like the session, share the session with your friends, and also to subscribe to our channel so that you do not miss any of the updates. Thank you. Jai Hind.